Today we have 5 stories that are going to test your patience, and I mean that in the best way. We've got a dad selling his own plasma to pay rent while his stepdaughter blows the money on a baby shower. We've got a mom screaming at her 4-year-old over dinner, and trust me, there's a twist coming on that one. A teenager whose boss accidentally scheduled him during his approved vacation, not once, but 3 times. A man invited to a Father's Day dinner that blew up someone's whole phone. And a parent who roasted a nosy coworker so hard he went crying to the boss. Buckle up, because every single one of these had the comments absolutely losing it. Let's get into it. First up, a 53-year-old man who is literally selling his blood to keep a roof over a household that won't lift a finger to help him. 5 years ago, my male, 53, stepdaughter, now 19, started dating a boy who was 16. My wife, female, 43, allowed him, on occasion, to spend the night. When he wasn't allowed, he'd sneak in, hide in the closet, hide under the bed, or break into vacant apartments near us. He was arrested for trespassing. His home is 100 miles away. If I'd give in and say he could stay one night, and it would turn into 7. My wife has zero ability to tell her daughter what to do. After she graduated high school, she moved to another state, leaving him behind. She told my wife she realized she would never get away from him if she stayed home, and he would hold her back. My greatest fear was that he would get her pregnant. He wouldn't be able to take care of her. He didn't graduate high school, and raising the baby would fall on me and my wife. She came back home to get the rest of her stuff and agreed to meet the guy to give each other their stuff back. She told my wife she kept it strictly professional. She returned to her new home, and after a month or 2 returned home. In March, she told us she was pregnant and due in August. We told her they couldn't live with us, and he needed to get a job. He said he couldn't get a job in this city without a place to stay. So I gave him 30 days to save up and move out. The deal was for 30 days, and I wasn't going to do the dishes or take out the trash. That was 4 months ago. My stepdaughter said they can't save money because she's paying for a baby shower. The dishes and trash sit for days at a time. They both have jobs, and combined make at least $1,000 a week. My wife, who told me they wouldn't be allowed to live here with the baby, has now switched to, I'm not kicking out my daughter and grandbaby. I'm struggling to pay the bills. I work a full-time job, have a small side hustle that pays $300 a month, and I do Instacart on one of my days off. This week, I used 2 PTO days to do Instacart for rent. I sold my plasma. I still had to ask my parents for help. I suggested that he applies to get on the lease, and then each of us contribute $150 a week to a fund for paying rent and bills. My wife immediately rejected that and threatened to take them and move out. She doesn't make enough to cover her expenses without me. Am I the asshole? Let's see what the comments have to say. This person commented, "Run for your life. This will never get better at this point. That is a grown-ass woman who has never learned to support herself." Another commenter said, "Opie should get a divorce and move on. There is no need for this in his life. NTA if you leave them. YTA if you stay in this situation." The comments are firmly on his side here, but they're split on what he should actually do about it, with a whole lot of people screaming at him to just walk away. So what's your call? So what do you guys think? Was this person the asshole? Drop your verdict in the comments below. Next up, a parent at their absolute wit's end over a 4-year-old who screams bloody murder the second dinner is over, and you are not going to see the twist coming. My daughter, 4, is a huge glutton. I try to keep her healthy and make sure she doesn't overeat, but we live with my parents and they love filling up her plate to excess. This has resulted in her thinking it is okay to yell at the top of her lungs, sometimes crying just to get food. Often when she already has food, but it's just been sitting out for a few hours. Today I am eating dinner with my parents, and she is out in the yard playing or whatever. And when we are done and cleaning up after dinner, she comes in and immediately start yelling. We get in a huge fight where I start yelling too. I tell her that she always interrupts me and I need her to let me finish my sentence, but she just ignores everything I say, just screaming, crying that she wants food. And she is hungry, and since we just ate, there must be some for her, but I tell her that she still has food from this morning that is still perfectly fine. At this point, I am yelling too. I say, "You are a glutton. You always complain that the food I give is too dry. It's not supposed to be wet." And she just keeps yelling that she wants food until I pick her up and hold her. This has her quiet for a bit, but really quickly, she wants to be let down. So I let her down, and she starts crying again. I am just done with the conversation, so I just leave her with my dad, who she hardly ever yells at, by the way, and go to another room. If you haven't guessed it by now, yes, I am talking about my cat. She has a lot to say, and it's often about food. She is not underweight. She's a very happy, almost vaguely fat cat of 4 years who often brings in gifts from our garden that are almost always fully dead. I hope you have enjoyed this little respite from all the assholes out there. Keep on keeping on. So, Reddit, am I the asshole? I'm just trying to keep her from being unhealthy, but she disagrees. Let's see what the comments have to say. This person commented, and me. My 2 cats are naughty AF and they demand their morning meal at 4 a.m. Another commenter said, my cat used to wake me up by laying on my bladder at 5 a.m. to get his breakfast. Yeah, the comments got just like you probably did, and they loved it. Definitely not the asshole, just a tired cat parent. But be honest, did the twist get you? What would you have done in this situation? Let me know in the comments. Now to a 19-year-old whose manager approved his vacation weeks ago and then quietly scheduled him to work it anyway. 19 male, we're part-time at Meyer. Back in early June, I requested 5 days off for a vacation before the request deadline. My manager approved every day on June 17th, so I booked everything and made plans. I'll be out of state during those dates. When the work schedule came out, I noticed I was scheduled on one of my approved vacation days. I left my manager a note letting him know because I assumed it was a mistake. Instead of fixing it, the schedule was updated again, and I got scheduled on 2 more of my approved vacation days. Ever since one of my coworkers got fired, we've been working 6-day weeks and covering what feels like 2 people's jobs, even though I'm part-time. I've already worked 6 days straight. I'm planning on talking to my manager in person, but if the schedule isn't fixed, I'm still going on my vacation because I requested the time off on time. It was approved weeks in advance, and I made non-refundable plans based on that approval. Am I the asshole if I don't show up for those shifts if they never correct the schedule? Update. Thank you everyone for the advice, even the people telling me to quit on the spot faced with tears of joy. I emailed my union representative with screenshots and all the details, and I'm currently waiting for a response. I'll also be contacting HR. For anyone wondering, I'm in Michigan, so if that changes anything regarding my rights or how this situation should be handled, I'd appreciate any insight. I'll update again when I hear back. Update number 2. You genuinely can't make this up. I emailed my union rep about my manager messing with my approved vacation, and his assistant replied saying my union rep is on vacation. At least someone gets to enjoy their approved time off. Loudly crying face, they told me to meet with a union steward and file a grievance. So that's my next step. I'll keep everyone updated. Let's see what the comments have to say. This person commented, I made non-refundable plans, NTA. You're correct that you went through the appropriate procedure and should have the time off. Another commenter said, enjoy your trip. Email the manager and union rep that you purchased the non-refundable tickets after your leave was approved, and unless the company is willing to reimburse you, you're going. The comments are not having an ounce of this manager's nonsense. They're telling him to go enjoy his trip and let the chips fall. Definitely not the asshole here, but tell me if you'd handle it differently. If you're enjoying these stories so far, remember to leave a like and subscribe for more. Story 4. A man who became the only father figure a young woman ever had and got absolutely torched for it by the worst possible person. I, 44 male, have known Morgan, 19 female, since she was a baby. Her mother, 43 female, and I were friends in high school. Her dad took off back to Mexico shortly after she was conceived and hasn't been heard from since. Her mother and I hung out occasionally until about 5 years ago when she got with a guy who she quickly married and is heavy into drugs. Morgan was sent off to live with her grandmother. She rarely sees her mother and stepfather. Morgan and I reconnected when she invited me to her graduation party. Since then, I've helped her with figuring out her finances, getting a car, apartment, and register for college classes. We don't see each other often, but she knows I'm always just a phone call away. I ran into her yesterday at the grocery store, and just making small talk, I accidentally asked if she had any big plans for Father's Day, feeling stupid right after saying it knowing her situation. She laughed and said I was about the only thing that ever resembled a father in her life. So I thought why not, and invited her out with my wife and 2 teenage kids for our traditional Father's Day dinner at a nice restaurant. She quickly accepted the invite. This evening we had a great dinner, had some laughs, and treated her like she was one of the family. She even made me a almost Father's Day card. Everything seems to go great. Later tonight, her mother started blowing up my phone telling me what a terrible person I am, in much harsher words, and pretty much every name in the book saying what a sick person I am for playing pretend and messing with her daughter's emotions. And she has a real father and stepfather, and I'm neither of those. So am I the asshole? Let's see what the comments have to say. This person commented, what you did was very sweet. Another commenter said, Opie, I thought this was going to go differently with your wife or kids being upset. You all sound so wonderful and welcoming, and you did a great thing. Deadbeat parents' opinions mean less than nothing. I'd block her mom. The comments are pouring love on this one, and they have zero patience for the mom who suddenly cares now. Definitely not the asshole, but I want to hear your verdict. So what do you guys think? Was this person the asshole? Drop your verdict in the comments below. And finally, a parent who unloaded on a coworker that mocked their sick kid and then got scolded by the boss for it. Am I the asshole for calling out my coworker in the front office in front of other people? I have an almost 19-year-old son with trypanophobia. It is the phobia of needles and medical procedures. My kid also has EDS and does deal with chronic pain. I had to leave work early one day to go to the ER with him. It was extremely stressful for everyone involved. Something has to be wrong for him to tell anyone he has to go to the ER. The next day, I was telling a coworker about the entire ordeal, and another coworker says, "Yeah, I don't like needles either, but I don't need my mom to hold my hand when I get one." So I asked him, "Do you start sweating profusely, break out in hives, trembling controllably, and your heart race to 200 BPM when the doctor enters a room while on sedatives?" No. Then you don't need your mommy. My son needed a guardian there to articulate his medical conditions and give consent if he should lose consciousness, which he did. The coworker got mad, and I guess tattled on me to the director. The director told me I shouldn't have spoken to him like that in front of others. Before people ask, I was in a side office talking to my coworker with the door open. He was standing in the main office area, eavesdropping on our conversation, talking through the doorway. Let's see what the comments have to say. This person commented, "Nope. NTA. Coworkers started a fight, but hated to lose." Another commenter said, and lied to the director about how it happened and what was said. 100%. The comments are firmly in this parent's corner, pointing out the coworker eavesdropped, picked the fight, lost, and then went running to the boss. Not the asshole in their eyes, but what's your verdict? What would you have done in this situation? Let me know in the comments. And that's a wrap on today's batch. 5 stories, 5 very different flavors of drama, and I genuinely want to know where you landed on each one. Tell me in the comments which one made your blood boil the most, and which one you think was actually in the wrong. I read every single one of your verdicts, and I've got even more wild stories lined up for next time, so I'll see you in the next one.